yeah, if y'all still want to install Ubuntu, I'd love to go through it. It's basically just one of those things where you follow instructions and you click on stuff in order.
Yep. 2 more seconds. I'm into it. Chicken's fairly good. Give it credit. Okay. Get on some Ubuntu. Tee-hee.
Right. And action.
For real though.
Okay. So what is your computer situation? What have you got there?
I am working on an Acer. It's got HP, Windows stuff.
Okay, and you're ready to wipe it, like get rid of everything?
We have another one that we can do that too. Mercury here.
Oh, this is, you're saying the one we're on now is the Asus.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I thought I was installing on mine. No, I was like, I didn't realize
you have to wipe
I have to wipe it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
This
there's
one
a way
is.
to
This
not
one's
wipe
ready for
it, but yeah, it's, I mean, the thing that I think is the most attractive part of all of this in a lot of ways is that it lets you bring laptops back that aren't really working anymore.
Okay.
So like if a laptop's still serviceable, then meh, you know, like then people are donating something of value. But part of what I think makes this really kind of fit in with the whole thing that we're trying to do with Trash Magic is that like the laptop that I got here donated was just not usable anymore. It was one of those, you know, it was like an 8-year-old MacBook Pro that just basically you turn it on and it like whirs all the time and it doesn't do anything. But now that it has Ubuntu on it, it's fine. Like it
Cool.
works.
Okay.
So that
I've got several of those that were donated to me when I did a little call out to the community.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then the one that we're doing right now is one that her dad used to use. Karma's dad.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. It's touchscreen, but yeah, it's old and it is a lot of the time you're just like waiting for shit to happen.
Yeah, Windows.
Yeah.
That's Windows. Yeah.
But those fucking updates.
All the updates.
Yeah, I know it's awful. Yeah, and then they stopped supporting it at some point. So
Yep.
so basically, yeah, the install. I dropped the link in the chat, and the first step is to create a bootable USB stick. There's a bunch of instructions on there for what to download. You download Etcher.
Oh yeah, Etcher.
Or Windows or Etcher on Mac OS. I guess it's Balena Etcher. Yeah, Balena Etcher runs on all platforms.
Balena, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
Balena Etcher.
I think I have that on. I definitely have that on my main one. Not. I don't think.
Yeah. So right. So you don't need to get that working on the. Like you can get that working on the machine that like any machine, because what you're going to do is prepare the USB stick on one machine, and then once the USB stick is ready, then you're going to stick that in the USB of the machine that you want to wipe, and then boot on it. Yes. That's the procedure. And I think it shouldn't do anything to the USB drive. So I think you should then be able to take that thumb drive and use it to go make more of these from other laptops in the pile.
That's right.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. It can be like a standalone booter.
Yeah. And that's, I think, part of what I really want to see going forward. Like I got so excited getting this laptop working, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to keep doing it, but like we'll do whatever we have to do to make it easy. Because I think the business model, if you want to call it that, we can do is you can have a clinic. Like you said, you put out a call and said, hey, who's got this? People can bring these in on a Saturday, and we can have a clinic at the public library where people just bring them in, and then they take them home with them at the end of the clinic, and it's all set up. And so then like nobody has to buy or sell or donate or whatever. All it is bring your stuff into the library on a Saturday, and we'll show you how to use it, get installed, and then all those people should be able to go back out in the community with working web servers. And if we can get that working, now you have the ability to just grow network infrastructure with $0.
That's right.
And that's, I think, really powerful, because I don't know what people are going to do with it. Most people won't do anything, but if it doesn't cost anything, then, oh, Kitty! I love kitties.
He's annoying as all hell.
He's the best.
Is he rascally? He looks rascally.
Yeah. He's very hostile.
Yeah.
Here. Okay.
He wants to bite me, so I'm just kissing him aggressively.
Oh yeah, I've known some cats that looked like that were pretty aggro. My friend had a cat who was really violent, and he came from a farm. His dad was a farmer, and they finally just took the cat to the farm, and then it was fine. Like once it was able to hunt,
Like needs to be an
it was
outdoor
it was
cat.
totally fine. It just like needed to hunt. And when it was in an apartment, it was not okay. And then they got it on a farm where it could kill stuff, and then it was like the sweetest cat ever.
Yeah. I believe
It
that.
needed to do a lot of killing to be sweet.
Cats are a very fine line in the domestication.
Yeah, domesticated.
Okay, it's empty. So then, yeah.
You've got those hunter engines.
Yeah, so then you gotta, well, yeah, you follow the instructions on that link I dropped from the Ubuntu.com thing. So you,
That's flash drive.
yeah, you gotta download
Yes.
the image and then install
Mhm.
and then flash it onto the flash drive.
Are we doing this now? Right now, or do you
Yeah,
want
that's what this is about.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
to?
Yeah, if we can. I mean, if it gets tedious, we can stop.
It's
But
just like the class.
No.
Yeah, it's just like the
All
class.
right.
Just get it done.
I think
all
it'll be good.
succeed
Because
and
then the
sell
next step
our degrees
is
together.
if we can figure out how to do port forwarding on your Wi-Fi, then we could point edgephysics.net or one of the other domains to your Ubuntu server, and then it can be on the real internet, and you can start doing stuff with that if you want.
Love that.
Yes.
And we can start putting other software on there or whatever if we wanted to like put, I don't know, because we were gonna put like the I forget what that thing is called, lean something or other, the project management software.
Yes, the website and stuff that we were all
Yeah.
working on.
Oh yeah, we do need a name for that because Lean. I don't know. It's our project manager website or software.
Lean, I forget what it's called, lean something.
Lean.
Two?
Yeah. Lean 2. Yeah.
I think it's one, too.
Lean 2.
Lean time. It's lean.
Lean time.
Lean time.io.
Okay, so I have Balena. I have that downloading at the moment.
Okay,
And
great.
then I'm
Yeah,
going
and then you want to download the Ubuntu image.
image. All right, that's next. Let me open that.
So when they say it's an image, is it just an image?
No. An image is a term meaning the way the computer reads it.
Mhm.
It's the entire operating system, and it's like a
CD-ROM drive.
like a CD-ROM drive. It thinks that that's what
Okay.
it is. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's imitating the CD-ROM somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the same
Oh.
format or something. It's like a historical thing because when people used to install Linux, you always did it from a CD-ROM drive. And
Okay.
so I think it's all somehow kind of linked to that. There's like a legacy holdover from CD-ROM drive era.
Interesting.
Yeah, that
Really
guy Brad is so fast. I was like, yeah, he's so chaotic. I was talking to him, and then he just suddenly installed it, like out of no. I didn't say like, hey, could you install this for us on one of your servers? He just like installed it, and then he starts installing all these other things, and then it goes down because I guess his cat like unplugged the server or something. I don't know how chaotic his life is, but I think it's pretty chaotic. He's just installing software and having cats attack it. So
Sounds like
are.
chaos.
he's very good at installing software. It would take me a ridiculous amount of time to figure out how to install that crap. Like it's all just a bunch of command line, getting the right thing,
Oh, that. See, I need to get my
real.
command line game up because that.
Yeah. Well, it's so frustrating because it's always like easy if it's set up a certain way, but then like the problem is always getting it, like having the right development environment or having the right there's like all these layers of background things that I feel like are usually needed with these command line things. So you like follow the instructions, and then sometimes instructions work and other times they don't work because
Updates.
there's like all this other stuff that I don't even understand how to talk about that's not set up right to do what people who know how to do that stuff do. So, but I mean, part of the good thing about command line stuff though is that once you have one person who's like that, then you just give them the login credentials and they can fix everything in a few seconds because they log in and they just start furiously typing.
Understand the language.
You can't. Yeah, that's why those people some of them get paid a lot of money, some of them don't. But like, yeah, you cannot replace the experience of people who know that stuff. I feel like it's it's hard to automate that away. Seems like you should be able to automate it, but nope.
So according to this little countdown thing, it says it's got an hour left to download.
Okay, well maybe we'll finish this another time. That's
Yes.
fun.
But,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, you just follow the instructions, and then so I dropped the link in the chat for the Ubuntu instructions, but there's another set of instructions which is from the GitHub. Let me find it. Old Trash Magic Media Server. So if I go to the main GitHub thingy here, if you scroll down a ways, the Ubuntu thing is kind of a ways down, but it does say Ubuntu install right above the Android install. And basically what it is that once you're done with the install, you open a command line and then just one by one copy paste each line from that little blob there under the Ubuntu install. And so this is command line, but I think it's command line that really should work every single time. I think that sequence should work. You see it there, Ubuntu install. There's like
sudo. It doesn't keep scrolling randomly.
Yeah, there it is, Ubuntu install.
Yeah, and it's like sudo. Everything is sudo this, sudo that. It's all like you got to God mode. Somebody asks you if you're God, you say yes. So yeah, sudo everything. And so that should work. I've tested it now on a lot of different, like I've done it on the computer that I installed at home, but I've also done exactly the steps in other Ubuntu machines. So it's almost identical to Raspberry Pi. So it just should work. So yeah, give that a try. And then that's just installing the Trash Magic Media server. And then that's what I think is the basis. Right now, I'm increasingly confident that based on people's responses on TikTok and talking to people and stuff, that we're really this form of the server and like calling it Trash Magic Media, like I feel like it's all kind of clicking, because the idea that I can take a laptop that I get donated from somebody, wipe it, put a server on it, and then just use a thumb drive to just put music and videos and articles and books and images into these folders, and then everybody can see it. There's all these other things that we're all talking about robots and about everything else, but that basic thing of just like drag and drop your media into a folder and then share it with your neighbors, that I think, now that we're not using the Raspberry Pi, now that we're doing it on donated laptops and we can have these library clinics, like I feel like we're onto something here. I feel like this is the beginning of a real network. We can do this. So yeah, just follow the instructions. Maybe not having me on the call is actually just good. Just see how it goes, and then let me know how that goes. And
yeah, we'll do a test just like we did Wendy 1.0.
Yeah, do the test, absolutely. And then also, who is your internet service provider out there?
We have a local one called Webformix, and I say local, but it's hilarious because they actually are out of Utah.
But
It's the West.
Comcast.
They are more local than Comcast or Spectrum, yes. But.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically like the Death Star. But so yeah, we're at Comcast Xfinity. But what you're going to want to do is probably log onto your router.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done that before? Where you
I have, yeah.
Yeah, you've done that. Okay, yeah. So you're going to want to log onto your router and then set up port 80 forwarding.
Port 84.
Port 80 forwarding. So there should be something in the router settings under port forwarding, under like the advanced settings, and then forward port 80 traffic to whatever the IP address is of your server. And this is the thing that you don't want to do when you're doing the thing that we were doing before, where you're like using your real laptop. You want to do this on like something that's dedicated, like the Ubuntu machine or one of the Raspberry Pis or something. I do it with my Raspberry Pi at home all the time. I have one of my domains that points to our home IP address, and then I have port forwarding, but I haven't actually been able to edit it recently because Xfinity keeps making it more and more complicated. Like they don't let you do it from the router anymore with Xfinity. That's why I was asking about your ISP, because Xfinity forces you to do it through their stupid online cloud thing or whatever. Whereas like the traditional way when you're with a more independent ISP, you should be able to just set it up in your router, and that should work. And once you do that, then anybody outside who's not on your Wi-Fi, like you should be able to then send me a link to your global IP address of your home network connection, and then I should be able to see that.
That's right.
And if I can see that, then I can go into the settings on my DreamHost account and point one of my domains to your IP address.
That's
and
right.
Then anybody but you won't be able to do this when you're at home. Everybody else in the world will be able to do it, but you can do it on your phone. We'll be able to put in edgephysics.net, and then it'll just resolve your Ubuntu server when it's on. So that'll be a really important test. If we can make that work, which is not, I mean, I say it like it's some dramatic thing, like, because I've already been doing this with the Raspberry Pi, and it should be the same. But I feel like it's a really important like milestone to do it. It's the replication thing. Like if you guys can do it with another one of my domains, and then my domain points to your thing, and then that goes to the Ubuntu, and you've installed it, and you've done it with a machine that you were going to throw out anyway or whatever, it starts to build a thing that isn't the cloud. Like we're starting to build, like we've doubled the number of these servers, and if we can double, we need to get that steep growth curve that all the tech companies are always doing with their venture capital funding. But if we could imagine if we start teaching classes at public libraries where you bring a laptop in, we'll do it for you. But if you have any interest in technology at all, we will teach you how to run these clinics so you can go do your own clinic and get all your friends to do it on their laptops. And then if that starts to work, where people who come to the clinic are like, some of them are tech people who are going to copy it, and then they copy it, in theory, you can start to get that exponential growth where you have like the right demographic, and you get the right 5 people who show up, and they're like all plugged into the hacker spaces or whatever. And you do that in like New York and San Francisco and LA and Boston and DC, whatever. And then if you hit that exponential curve, you can get that crazy thing that the tech companies always get, and they just pay for it with venture capital money. But we're really like, we're playing with very powerful forces if it starts to work, because we're doing something that they can't do, because they always have to spend money to scale.
Yes.
And if we can have it where it's donated materials, and there's any content at all, it could make, some people can make money doing this. But even if they just have like enough content that it's just like, it's funny, like haha, you get your friends to come over and they see your skateboard videos or something, anything.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody has
an exponential growth curve, and then we can blow this thing up.
They have different interests, so people will want to put their niche into the
I see like you could really tap into genealogy communities with this. Because like these people who have these enormous books of generations of material, putting it onto a server that's hosted at home, I could see that actually being something that like really would sell. So like from public library into historical societies might be a pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who has an obsession with something odd, whether it's I mean, people who are into eccentric hobbies of all kinds, everything, rocks or religion or history or anything. And there's going to be terrible people who are going to get into it. Like that's the thing, there's going to be, I think once this starts to get picked up by religious movements, it's going to get really weird.
Yes.
Well,
and there's nothing we can do about it. Like we can, like what I'm hoping is to sort of co-opt it a little bit, to sort of like try to get the branches of religion that I find to be less harmful to be hopefully the early adopters. I have a friend who I went to high school with who's a Unitarian minister, and I'm going to try to get him to do a demo. Like if I can, he's a good guy. He's a Unitarian minister in the UK, and he's like I think he's a very good person. And like, if we can have the people in the religious community who are doing this be like on the right side, that would be nice. Because it's going to get crazy. Like, because you can just start copying script. I mean, you can just move scripture around, and I don't know.
There's a, I forgot what it's called.
We all need some more Bible fandom. Like, that's all. Let's just like
and Jesus
co-opt and make
got
like
on his knees.
a revised copy, Bible 2.0.
Well, once it's in once it's in a text editor, I mean, so I already have a fork. One of the forks that I have in Trash Magic Media, it says scripture, and then in there I have, those scriptures are all public domain. So like I downloaded the Quran and the King James Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, I think, and like a couple other random, whatever, Book of Mormon or something, and they're just text files. So like you can just open it and start adding text and subtracting text. Anybody can do it, and it's shocking to me how little people have done with that since the rise of computers and desktop publishing. It's a big unwieldy file, but it's not that big. I mean, you take the entire King James Bible, it's smaller than probably like 20 seconds of video or something like that. When you compare it to video, it's just so small that all text files are tiny compared to video.
There's a theory, or not a theory, but a name for in nature when creatures signal to each other, like, you're part of me and I'm part of you, we're part of each other's tribe. Right. And Karma sent me this video of blue-haired girls, and that's what they do to signal to, like, well, do you remember what it's called?
I can't remember what the name is, but it's almost like poison dart frogs, and like where they signal to other people that, like, hey, I wouldn't taste very good, I'm pretty dangerous.
Yeah. So I hope we accomplish that with Trash Magic, with our quote unquote branding, and that's why.
I hope so too. I think that's right. It's like a combination of like whimsy and practice of magic and solar punk and anarchy and like mutual aid, and it's kind of like anti-establishment and like classic hacker 90s hacker aesthetic. That it brings in a certain kind of person. The people, because there'll be people in the comments who are like, you need to stop using unprofessional. People are going to think it's unprofessional. Like, yes, okay, that's correct. We're not trying to create like the kind of thing that Harvard Business School is going to be interested in. Like, that's the idea. But yeah, no, I'm hoping all that's what all this kind of stuff for is partly is to be just like very obviously. But people will fork it, but that's fine later on. So okay, what else? But so this is going to take some time. So we should probably just talk about strategy things and then chill.
Do you want to talk about As We Think? I think is what it's called. Because Karma hasn't read that.
It's wild, right?
Yes, I am so excited.
1945.
Yeah.
And it's the story of that guy's life too. It's like he was like at the top of the food chain. There's like Robert Oppenheimer and all the rest of them, and then he's like the guy who was running that entire system of like all of those different weapons labs during the war. And so it's interesting.
Can you describe the Memex to her?
Well, so it's this guy Vinay Varbush, who is a super top level boss person in the military industrial complex during World War II and then after World War II. And so he's writing this very speculative essay about his vision of the future of media. And so Memex, I think it's memory extension. It's this idea that, and part of what I love about it is that it's a very similar to what we ended up with the internet and Wikipedia and the World Wide Web and everything, but it's a little different. And so it's this idea of media. He's trying to take the technology as it was clear to them in the 1940s and project it forward and say, what if you use, and a lot of it's centered on microfilm. So it's very physical. It's like a surprisingly physical description that he gives of like what it would take to take photography and shrink it down and go to dry photography. So it's kind of funny because what we ended up with was very electronic. Most of our memory is these purely.
That's what he was describing, was like a computer that's like not a Turing machine, a computer that has so many more dimensions to the mechanics that make it operate. And so what you're describing is really like a mashup of a lot of different technologies to create a computing creation.
it's centered on documents. And that's the thing that always bugs me about the way people talk about computers now, is that it's this idea that there are computers and then there's the documents on them. But that sort of bothers me, because I don't think that computers have taken over the world because doing math is really important. They've taken over the world because they host all these documents that we use to communicate with one another.
Yeah.
And so, it's, yeah, so the thing that makes it sort of, to me, philosophically a little bit different from like the whole Turing machine computing thing, is that it's centered on documents, and it envisions hypertext. So it's this like decades early vision of the idea of like you're reading a document and there are links in the document, which we just take for granted now. I mean, that's the World Wide Web. But the idea of the hyperlink, that like as you're reading, there are links that go to all the other documents as you go along. Yeah. And so, yeah, so it envisions that. And then what I'm trying to do with like the idea of the trash memex is to say, okay, so he had this vision in 1945, and then technology progressed. Lots of things happened. The computer revolution happened, one revolution after another in computers, with the internet and optical communication, space communication, and all this extreme miniaturization of electronics, all these kinds of things. But I think it's worth revisiting a lot of these things. And so part of the idea, there's a lot of ideas that I'm trying to spin together. So there's this essay that is like the basis of this memex idea. But what I'm trying to do is take that essay and say, let's write a white paper that describes a system that writes on trash and then reads out from the trash, which is kind of what the trash robot has been trying to do. Like the trash robot writes on trash, okay, and it's made out of trash, but it's not like it can't really read. It's an art project. But what I'm trying to do is envision the future in the same sense, and say with the electrochemical probe stuff, which we can talk about more later. Like there's a lot there with the electrochemical probe, but the idea of having a fluid and you have an electrode that's immersed in a fluid. And so you run electronic current through the fluid, and then you move the tip around, and then you use that to grow stuff where you can like deposit metal, and then you try to like control crystal growth or control growth of metal filaments, or have films and then like use the probe to impact the film in some way, in the same way that we do with the clay stuff with the printer. And so my argument that I want to make is that the combination of all of the ideas that we've already been spinning together, building robots out of trash, using purely geometric programming to program them so that you have these like, we use Geometron to like control the thing. All of these ideas put together, combined with the slime zister stuff, the electrochemical probe work that I've done with the Arduino, and the fact that the Arduino is like cheap and easy to use and all that kind of stuff. All of those things combined together create a platform which we can use to make things that involve read and write on trash. And that platform, the roadmap of that platform can lead to fabricating complex electronic circuits in trash. And if you can do that, then you're starting to eventually. So I'm trying to do the same like grand vision thing where you say like, I don't know how to make a complex microelectronic circuit from trash that can actually like be used to replace the Arduino, but I think that you can do it. And I think that what we can do, and this is where everything, I want this white paper to weave everything together. And like a lot of things we've like talked about at length, I want to like condense them down and say all this trash magic network stuff with like using laptops to tell people about things and whatnot, that all can be part of the system, because what that does is it creates self-replicating media, even if it's just for people to listen to music and share articles or something. If it gets energy into the system, you can use that network to replicate the trash circuits. And that means you can scale it. And so
without venture capital
there's a lot of threads here, because one of the threads I want to work with is like recording music and then playing music back. Because if you can do that, musicians, even if when I'm imagining is not like full on analog recording, like a record or a tape or a CD, but more like digital recording, like people who do weird, who like write chip tunes or digital music or things like that. You can use very crude initially. If we have something where you have to like manually enter the electrochemical properties so it plays some simple chip tunes thing, there are certain kinds of musicians who that's exactly the kind of thing they would be into. And if we can find those people, then you can say we are recording and playing back music in trash using trash magic, using trash fabrication. And that, I think, this is where like having the art and science and music stuff all kind of come together is powerful, is that like that brings legitimacy and energy and attention into the system that you can then turn to the science people and say, look,
right, yep,
the art and music people are willing to do this. So if we run with this can really turn into something. And that's a very important point, because all these alternative, so I come from these different fields of applied physics where people are always trying to do something clever with electronics, nanotubes, graphene, fullerenes, molecular electronics, all this stuff. And it tends to be not successful. And the reason it's not successful, in my opinion, one of the reasons it's not successful, is that they try to like compete directly with silicon. They say, let's follow the same rules as silicon, try to be successful in the same way that they're successful. And then you're not, because like they've defined what success is. And so like the silicon people can sell their stuff for next to nothing because they have these huge economies of scale, and they have these $10 billion fabs in China, and they already, like, you can't do what they're doing with your molecular transistor or whatever. But our goals are different from theirs. If we could figure out how to make a really, really, really simple knockoff of the Arduino that runs at like 1/1000th of the speed, but it's like a full-on Arduino, and you can make it from like old beer cans.
Yes.
Something that can scale. That's like a very different, like that would, this is why I think, like, this is how I think you defeat capitalism technologically, is that you have this situation where like under capitalism that won't scale. You don't have a product that will be able to be turned into something where you go crank out 1 million of these and sell them for a lot of money, and like you can't get a patent, and like it doesn't work. But under the kind of thing that we're doing, where you try to like build these DIY networks of people doing like art and music and stuff like that, then I think it can scale, because you're trying to do different things. And so it's another one of these things where I'm trying to like thread a lot of delicate pieces together, where I want the science people to say, well, this is legitimate because like there's real art and music people can do here. So it makes sense that this can scale in a different way. But at the same time, I want science people to say, you can do really interesting physics experiments with this.
Yes.
And that's important for me personally, because I need a job. And the only way that I can think of to get a job where somebody's going to pay me like a lot of money to keep doing what I'm doing is to have it be this kind of stuff. Because anything else, there's no justification to pay me to go like install Ubuntu 1 million times, because other people can do that too. Like what do I bring to the table? Whereas like inventing a completely new type of microelectronic fabrication is something where I can say, well, okay, I have a PhD in this. I've done this for 20 years. I know all these people. I'm like connected to all these clean rooms and stuff. Like I can justify that. So that's my impetus for writing this white paper with Masa and with you guys, is that like collaborating with you guys means that we've got this like real connection to the real world, where we can like get this out into communities and get high school kids doing it and get into libraries and stuff like that. And that's also what I'm interested in. But collaborating with Masa, what I'm hoping is that we can publish papers in the peer-reviewed applied physics literature, and that those papers will then legitimize the whole project and get a bunch of research dollars in. And then those research dollars can get us collaborators who know how to do all kinds of stuff. So then if we want to do molecular, so we're never having to invent anything. So like you want to do molecular electronics, fine. Then we make sure that the grant includes time for some grad student in a molecular electronics group to join the collaboration. And we want to do mushrooms, We're not going to figure out that stuff. We're going to find a graduate student in a mycology lab.
Mycology program, yeah.
Dissertation on this stuff. And then we'll go get grant money for them to go do nothing but think about how to do mushrooms with this thing for 5 years. And that's how I think we can kind of weave all these layers together, where you've got like musicians, artists, revolutionaries, activists, community organizers, and then like academia.
Yes.
And
speaking of Masa, he and I need to have a separate meeting like this as well, so that we can all get on the same page and really go over the email that you sent. Those diagrams and things like that.
Yeah, that's evolved a bit. Yeah, I'm going to try to catch up with him later this week, and then we'll loop y'all back in.
Okay.
And then, and I messaged with Karma about that a little bit too, I think. So yeah, I mean, the more the merrier, I think. But also, yes, let's the three of us have that conversation, or the four of us, and I'm going to chat with Masa. I think he said he'll be less busy after Labor Day, and Labor Day is tomorrow, so I'll try to catch up with him later in the week. And you said you're leaving Tuesday for Chicago for how long?
From the 6th to the 11th, so 5 days.
Okay.
September 6th, September 11th. But I have apparently they structured my schedule so that I have these crazy gaps of a break in between, so that I have like 4 hours to myself. So I will have lots of time during work and after work to dedicate.
Okay, well, good. Let's just keep texting or whatever and stay in touch on that. And so so I guess there's like the Trash Memex and white paper, and then there's TrashCon, and then there's like building the network. I think these are like the three main threads that I have in my head.
Yeah, let's stick with those three and put those up on the lean. I'm creating the one for TrashCon. I still have to finish it.
I made one for TrashCon that's just got almost nothing in it, but so.
Oh, okay. I
can you not see the ones I put up? Because I put up a whole bunch of projects. I don't know. I think I added everybody to those.
Let me see. It was not Frog, was it?
I'm looking for it now.
Toad dot lean dot. What is it?
Lean.toad.pix, maybe?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, here it is.
Lean.toad.pix? Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, the pix part is particularly odd. So yeah, I've been going crazy actually. So hopefully you can see that stuff.
Okay, here we go.
If you look under projects, all projects.
I'm logging in at the moment. Okay, all projects.
Because I can't see your projects, so maybe I didn't do this right.
Right, I think you have to add people on the left hand.
Project settings.
Yeah.
Who can access everyone in the organization? But maybe. Does organization mean
all projects? Here we go. Oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
TrashCon 23. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna add what I have to this then.
Yeah. I don't think I added very much. You just. I like the to-do thing where you can like drag things from new to in progress to done, block. What is Kanban?
Oh no. Kanban is like a graph that allows you to do some project managing.
Okay.
Lane time.
Yeah. Oh, that's yeah. That's the thing I was just saying. I really like. Yeah, that's the thing where you drag like sticky notes dragged from the one thing over to the next thing. Yeah. Okay.
Dang it. Okay. No.
Yeah. There's a lot we can. I mean, right now I just need to figure out how to move to Denver without going crazy. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I think setting up this project thing is helpful, and I think it's already been helpful. I think these are the three threads though, right? Like the Trash Memex, I think is how I'm gonna figure out how to get funded. And then I think that the network, the sort of I don't even know what to the Trash Magic Media Network, just trying to get people to install this Ubuntu stuff and then like just use it to distribute media is one thread. And then the con, I think what I'd really like to do is try to get people who are out on the road to come through Denver and just pick up a bunch of stuff. And then like, because part of what I think can make the Trash Magic Network really powerful is having all these people who are out in buses and campers across the country.
Yeah.
If those people are all plugged into the network and we're constantly feeding them like this solar energy thing, like everybody agrees we need to have a solar energy mutual aid station. And everybody's like, oh yeah. All you gotta do is buy this and buy that. And here's my little quick DIY guide to run the batteries without being a disaster. But I think people are really understating how much of a pain in the ass solar energy is still. And I think that one of the things that we can do by trying to build more social networking, and I don't mean like technology, I mean just people getting to know each other, is try to build up a culture of where everybody doesn't have to figure this stuff out on their own, where you have stations and you say like, everybody who comes through Denver during this period, we're going to make sure that you get hooked up with solar energy and web servers at the bare minimum. And then as we go along, we want to keep adding things. So we say like, all right, we're going to start having it where there's like, if the microwave pyrolysis ever worked and you could turn trash into gas, you could start just giving away gasoline and say, we're just going to have tanks of gasoline we're giving out to travelers who come through town. And then start passing it along and say travelers are helping other travelers by bringing them. You get that whimsical Mad Max thing where people are like bringing rainbow colored drums of passing people out into the wastelands.
Yeah, TrashCon is pretty exciting for me. I think I sent you, prizes. We were talking about prizes.
Right, prizes, yeah.
Having those cardboard and trash installations really contain little loot boxes for people or scrolls for people to, during TrashCon, to open up and be like, okay, your first quest is to build or install Ubuntu. That's one quest. They can choose their different quests and then go on like little scavenger hunts and stuff like
that. The gamification part is something that I think is very important that I have no talent for. So
I love it, and I have so many ideas. Like there's what he's talking about that can be the tech guild. So like when you sign up for TrashCon, you join a guild,
right?
And so like you can join the tech guild, and like so when you find this scroll, there's like a mission for the tech guild, a mission for the nature guild. That may not be what we call them, but that would be for like the hypercube and having like little starlings and seedlings and stuff. And then we could have ideally we'd want like 4 guilds or 5, because don't you have like 5 arms of Trash Magic?
There's all kinds of things. This is great. Yeah, put this. Do you find the user interface to be tolerable on that lean time? Do you want to just start dropping some of these?
Yeah. I'm gonna log out so she can log in after the thing.
I have already before. I mean, I've set my stuff,
if you all like that user interface, let's start dropping stuff in there. This is great. I love it. That's fantastic. That's all like I'm down with that. Like I can help talk about the ideas, but figuring out what words to use and like how to get people excited about it. Whoo boy. Yeah. I defer to people who are better at this than me. So that's great. Thank you.
I like the idea of having these quests and things just be stuff that people can learn a new skill practical skill like seed bombs, how to make a seed bomb, and that's
how
a
to
whole
make a
quest.
seed bomb would be fucking cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be a really cool
How
quest.
how to, you know, and the thing is like you combine it kind of like Minecraft style where you go to the local trash and find a pallet, and then we have, you know, you
and then it might be worth it for like for the seed bomb thing, we're obviously going to need a shredder, so it might be worth it for like one of our team to have like for part of the mission to be like you have to find the shredding station.
right.
So the part of like the mission is to collect the paper, and then you have to find the shredding station, and then from there that'd be bomb.
Yeah, one of the things I would definitely add to all of this is trying to connect people, like having missions to find people and establish a real relationship. So you say like, you know, every time, so like those are the things that to me are the most valuable, is when you draw a connection between high school physics teacher, public librarian, random hacker in the community who's really good with, you know, command line stuff, or scrap metal people like Comrade Alloy, like the people who find people who do that kind of work. Like my impression from talking to Comrade Alloy is that if he wants something, he just stops saying no. Like people just keep trying to give him stuff, and then because we live in this society that's so wasteful that when you have any kind of waste accumulation point, people are trying to give you stuff all the time. So you just like he just says no to stuff all, and you know, so like we start making those connections, and you say like if you're in the gardening guild, you know, it's like very valuable every time you make a strong relationship with somebody who's over in the tech guild or the, you know, whatever, the traveling kids.
Yeah, right. I guess so. Yeah, we gotta
find ways to get the guilds to interact with each other, like create the mission so there's cross interaction
because
between
it's the interaction is where the real power is when you get that's the real superpower.
That's edge physics.
Yeah,
because of the edge theory, where the most diverse, biologically diverse areas are right at the edges of two different not biomes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's where the interesting stuff happens, the surfaces and so on. And so if we can use the gamification to stimulate that effect and just like, you know, try to get people like if that starts to go, then that's going to really. We don't want to just like have tech clusters and gardening clusters. Like we want that too, but we're trying to build a social network that instigates change. And that change is going to come from having the surprising connections that go from like an investment banker to a train hopper or something, you know, like the more surprising the interaction is, I think the more likely you are to be able to
absolutely. That's chaos magic right there.
It's chaos. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's real chaos.
We might need 7 guilds though because of the colors of the rainbow, the Roy G. Biz.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yes, sure. All right. So yeah, I'll try to think of some guilds. You also, you know, let's just throw. Maybe the best thing to do now is to just like throw in as many names for things as we can think of, and then just eliminate and combine.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Because like there's going to be a bunch of things that are like different names for the same thing that can get combined, and then some things turn out to be meh. So we just throw a ton of different ideas in. But yeah, I kind of like if TrashCon is in April. And then like I'm unemployed, like I feel like that I don't What?
You're still playing with the cat.
You're not unemployed, you work for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. I'm self-employed.
From wage slavery, and you're
self-employed. I'm self-employed.
Because as soon as you get to Denver, man, you got to be making these connections. You got to be meeting the scrappers, and you got to be meeting the gardeners. So we have these people to plug all these strangers who are coming into Denver into.
Yeah, this is a good point, and I think but part of my challenge so far for talking to anybody who's not like a TikTok radical has been, what am I selling? Like what, right? Like you have to have a thing, even if you're not selling it. Like I'm not selling anything for money, but like what's your pitch? What's your deal? And I think that's where the servers come in. I think that the media, the Trash Magic media
if nothing else, you can host a store. Like you can host online stores on the server, right?
Oh yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't really like the idea of doing e-commerce on it because you have to have like logins and security and stuff like that. But you can certainly link to stores.
That's kind of what I mean.
Yeah, and you can host like a Craigslist style market.
Yeah. Pushing something
like
kind of
Craigslist
that
style
maybe
markets.
slightly more sophisticated. Maybe we will have that manpower to build something just slightly more sophisticated, because that's going to be what we're going to use to sell to the capitalists, even if it's kind of a like.
Right. That's what I'm hoping to do with like the weed shops in Denver and stuff like that, is to do something where like, if I could get these into weed shops in Denver, then like there's so much weed shop related marketing that I'm hoping that any one weed shop that sets a server up will, like, if they know how to run it, then they can charge money to other people in the weed business for the ad.
Okay.
Right. So then what ends up happening is, like, let's say somebody, and then maybe and that's where you start to get this magic where, like, if a weed shop can get musicians to start publishing their singles onto their Wi-Fi hotspot, these weed shops all,
that sounds
like,
really organic. That sounds like really really natural, really organic to like plug the artists in with the weed shops. You got a lot of these little like microbrewery style weed shops that have reggae nights.
A lot of microbreweries.
Yeah, that too. That's a whole nother like. That's a whole nother interaction, because like.
Yeah, that's a good point, because the weed. Well, they're not weed shops here, but we have a shop in downtown that's a glass pot head shop.
Bongs and stuff.
Yeah, they've got some crazy art in there that people do with.
Right. And they do a lot of like consignment work, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Oh we should talk to them, see if they're, because for consignment work, because I'm sure a lot of the artists who are selling their stuff through that shop, they have to say no to some of their work because they don't have space. So if you have that kind of internal web content, then they can put photographs of all their other work up on there, and then it's like expanding. It's like the TARDIS in Doctor Who. You're expanding the amount of stuff you can sell in a physical goods store.
That's right.
Which a website does anyway. Obviously, people could say, well, why don't you just put it all on eBay? And I know a lot of brick and mortar shops do that. But I think that,
Yeah, but eBay belongs to fucking Elon and those fuckers.
eBay belong to Elon. I have already found that adding stuff to the website, the way that you have it set up, where you literally just are moving stuff into a folder, there's not like a web design platform that makes it that easy.
Okay.
That I can think of, that I know of. Like, I don't know. Ask him.
It's just a container. It's a box.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, the container is way easier to work with. So if we're talking about like artists expanding their content in shops like that, if it was as simple for an artist as like uploading a picture to Instagram for them, as like listing an item for sale, basically, like they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it more often, and they're gonna host it inside.
All right, let's figure this out. All right, so when I move to Denver, I'm gonna try to get people to do this, and I'll just try to do it through people I know who are friendly first, and then see if I can get it. I also want to get it onto college campuses. I want to try to get clubs on campuses, like student clubs. Campuses can form student clubs.
Oh yeah, right there.
They usually have a budget for that. Like if you form a student club and you do the paperwork, a lot of times you can go like get access to campus resources and buy stuff and whatnot. So I'm thinking about trying to put up posters and like recruit kids from the local college campuses to go start clubs for it.
Trash Magic Club.
Well, no, check it out. I was actually thinking about this today. We need to have like. So
if we could create like I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I'm thinking of something really cool. If we could create like an RPG game that's surrounded around Trash Magic, you could have full on like RPG game clubs at different schools where they just enact the Trash Magic, and that would be the whole thing. Like we can once we've gamified and created the parameters for TrashCon, then it's duplicable for these clubs that you're talking about. And so like every college can have a trash club where they host a TrashCon once a month.
Yeah.
And it consists of like citywide cleanups. I really think we do need to work a citywide cleanup component into this. So that's another connection that we want to make, is like a connection with a recycling center or a trash center.
Yeah.
And like
citywide cleanup.
Yeah, make this whole thing
once
like
a month.
Then it becomes there's a community service element, there's an educational element,
That's really, I love that. That's such a good idea because that's a thing that can engage different groups. Like one of the, so I'm in like the
And that's what we want to do. We want to bring a lot of different people
yeah,
together.
like alumni organizations. I'm in like I'm still on the mailing list for some stupid alumni organization out in Colorado. And like that's like half of what they do is they'll like go do a community service thing like that or something. Like there's so many organizations where community service is like their thing that they do. And so
100% is just only photo ops, and like they continue to get grants just to serve these photo ops.
And so those people can get engaged where we can have a plan and then say like, all right, call these people up and say, can we would you be willing to do your next alumni community service thing? Just be like to participate in this. And then, once we have a thing, I think we can do it. This is great. This is really, I feel like we've actually got a thing now. Like this is, I think Trash Magic, the idea of Trash Magic being like the top line as like the media network, that was like really a breakthrough, I think, and conceptually is the idea that like, yes, this really is a social media network. Not as social media exactly, but like media distribution. Figuring out how to do this Ubuntu thing, I think, was a big breakthrough. And this gamification, please, all of the ideas that are in your head, please like write them down because I am horrible at this stuff. And it's clear that you're thinking about it in a way that I will not be able to do. Like, this is amazing. So yeah, please just write.
For
all of your
Trash Con, what I was going to say when you were talking about your idea.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. You had an idea.
Yeah. I want to induct people into the Trash Magic Coven or something like that. Like we have this ceremony,
like a gathering ceremony,
like
an induction,
and everyone's wearing their costumes or whatever that they bring their warrior.
Fashion. We need to. This is an excuse to do the fashion. This could be a real fashion thing. Exactly. Yeah, let's make sure that there's a fashion.
That Burning Man energy.
Yeah.
Bring
it on.
We just want a fashion design guild.
Yes.
Yeah. That'll bring some really good people. I think a fashion design guild that's like total over the top rainbows, apocalyptic, like that alone will bring a certain type of person who doesn't give a fuck about any of the rest of it, but who's like really good.
Yeah.
So just inducting, like having this big ceremony where it's like Hogwarts, because my daughter's really into Harry Potter now, so that's kind of like what's influencing it.
So we can have like a little celebration, like a mini celebration for. I'm picturing like the
like martial arts
Olympic. Too. Oh yeah, like martial arts.
Yeah, martial arts. So I mean, this is all of those belt things. They didn't used to have the belts. The belts were all invented in the early 20th century.
And I think riffing on your rainbow.
Really well.
Yeah, riffing on the rainbow.
Yeah.
Kids go crazy for those belts.
Yeah.
And I actually just got my red belt in karate, and I'm into it. Like everybody's into it, and I always think it's stupid. Like I'm one of the many adult martial artists who's like, whatever belts, blah blah blah. But like, it's kind of cool, and
I thought it was really cool when I was a kid. Like I was so proud to be like, I'm a fucking brown belt, okay?
Yeah,
and now I'm kind of like,
and like that was all somebody's idea. Like when in the samurai days, they didn't have any of that, and like Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo, was I think. I mean, okay, I'm biased. I'm a judo person. I've read a lot of judo books, but like, I think he basically just made that up. And that's why he did it. He made it up because he wanted to have something that regular people who are doing this as like a hobby sport could be into. It's not just like you train really 8 hours a day so you can go serve the feudal lord or whatever, but like you do it 4 hours a week and you kind of get promoted and stuff like that. And so
that's genius.
That was Jigoro Kano was a genius. I will say Jigoro. I mean, I'm a little bit obsessed with the founder of judo. So,
in anime culture, I'm specifically thinking of Naruto. They have the headbands with the little plate on it that tells you which village you're from.
Okay.
So that'd be fun. That'd be fun to make. Yeah. We could make them
guilds.
out of like
aluminum.
Yeah. If we could find some way just to hammer like or if we could CNC mill an emblem that we can stamp into aluminum just with like like impact stamp.
Oh yeah,
that'd be pretty fucking boss.
Would be great.
The headbands.
And then you within the guild there are different paths or whatever. And
no, within the guild. I mean, each guild. Like you've got fashion, you've got garden, you've got tech.
I'm saying for the headband, but within each guild, because we're gamifying it, it's kind of like badges in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts or whatever, where you do the thing. But that's for the prize. When you complete the seed bomb, you get the little badge for seed bomb making.
Sure.
Like that.
Oh, I could see how that could work. Oh, I could see how that could work. We could even for like for the first Trash Con, if we wanted to just have pins or buttons made, we could do that on the real cheap.
You were talking about laser cutting stuff.
Oh yeah, we can do that too.
You can laser cut pins.
But I'm thinking, well, what you're talking about with the headband, like we could do something like a headband or an armband or something where like they do, when they complete a mission, they do get a little badge that we have created out of something, whether it be, I do love the idea of using like little aluminum something. Yeah. Okay. Ideas.
I mean, the thing about belts too is that like with karate belts, like everybody knows anybody can buy a belt anywhere. Like it's not like, you know, they're not special. It's just like, you know what it means. And like, you're in like, it's so it doesn't, even if people are just doing it kind of super DIY and it's really easy, there's still people are going to honor it. They'll know if like, no one's going to fake it, I think, you know.
Once, exactly. And even if it does, that's very much the spirit of what we're doing is like DIY, make your own thing, come join us.
Yeah. And then all right, well this is good. I think we've got a lot of threads coming together here,
we might have a lot of people who really want to, like me, who want to do more than one guild. I think we're going to have a lot of people who are like really want to interact with each guild, so maybe our belts are just rainbow and you can get a pin from every mission that you complete that's like geared towards each
and we do that with the martial art that I do is like that too. They have like jujitsu and karate. Like jujitsu is kind of mixed in. So there's a whole thing about when you get your karate belt, for each belt there's a certain amount of jujitsu or whatever, and so they go together. But I mean, it's very similar to the martial arts. I think what we're proposing is very common in martial arts to have like the different things that you're doing, where you're doing like the different styles and forms versus sparring and stuff like that. So all right.
Leveling up in all these different ways. You practice a form, you practice sparring, you practice conditioning in each class.
And some people are good at whatever. And initially, we're going to tend to attract people who are like us, who are like all over the place. And I think that part of what we're going to see as this thing evolves is that there's going to be like certain types of people who are attracted to it now. And then like as it expands, there's going to be other types of people who can get involved only because it's like big enough that they can see how to relate to it. Or a little bit less.
I have this vision of it like starting from a rainbow and then having like each guild branch off as an individual color, like as Trash Magic and Trash Con
as it
evolves and it grows. Like that would be really cool to see. That'd be really cool to see. And so then you just have like sages. The people who are like us, who are all over the place, we'd be the Sage Guild. We'd be like,
I mean, the way I'm seeing is that it's going to be like, I want to do this for the whole world. Like, I want Trash Magic as a concept to replace capitalism, meaning that everybody in the world is using information technology to copy things made of trash from one place to another. We're all doing that. And so how many people do we need to do that? My guess is my thinking, and maybe this is totally wrong, but my like straight out of thin air thinking is that like somewhere in the order of like 1 person per 1,000. So that like if you're in a town of 30,000 people, like 30 people who really know what they're doing with this stuff is probably enough, where 30 people could be organizing like a few hundred people who are then providing stuff to like tens of thousands, something like that.
Sure.
People, there's like 10,000 people. So in New York City, there's like 10,000 people doing this.
That's very akin to precious plastics. Yeah.
So then, and then there's a little bit of a pyramidal structure to that to some extent, where you imagine there's like 30,000 people in your town. So there's like 30 people who are doing this full time, but maybe like 3 or 4 who are really sort of the core, like founders who are in absolutely everything. And then there's another, 100 people who are like really pretty actively involved. And then like another 1,000 who like, this is a significant part of their life.
A little syndicalistic. Yeah, absolutely. We can create little syndicates of like,
Because think about how few people, like you think about like our clean water infrastructure and how you live in a city and you drink clean water. Some cities, if you're lucky, you live in a city and you drink clean water. And then there's like water engineers and stuff like that, but they're not that many of them for how many people are drinking the water. There's like a few water engineers, and everybody drinks water. water. And
very little infrastructure, very little value there. I'm only laughing because I just recently listened to a pretty excellent podcast, and it was a debate. It was a debate between some anarcho-capitalists and some anarchist leftists, more Marxist-Leninist syndicalists, and the ANCAPs were trying to justify water privatization, and it was a real.
See, that's exactly what I did.
No. You want to hear how they did it, because it'll get you. It'll get you. The ANCAPs have this way of like, every argument is just an analogy. That's how they have to do it. They have to reduce it to an analogy. So the analogy was instead of a person who has a well on their land, who has built a fence around their land and is not allowing anyone to that well. So if people were to come onto that land and were to violate that fence and steal water in order to save their lives, that would be violating a person in a way that if a man had only 1 week left to live, if he didn't have sex before that week was up, it would be within his right to save his own life by raping a woman.
They chose to go there.
Yeah.
That's where they wanted to go to defend their water nonsense.
Yeah.
They came on there willingly.
You think I'm crazy? Let me
And
say
this was
something
the argument they
crazier
brought.
to illustrate to you how I'm a terrible person who's crazy.
Yes.
Precisely.
Wow.
Yes.
Precisely. Like you brought this argument.
You made it worse on purpose.
Yes.
It was amazing. So that's why I was laughing right there.
Yeah, it's
Tell
really,
us more about how
really
water
bizarre.
privatization just has so much value.
Yeah, and like, to me, there's always the question of like, just what's the best way to do the thing, you know? And like with water management, thinking in terms of like the size of whatever watershed you're in is like the only thing that makes sense. And so, you know, it's like everybody just drills a well in their backyard, and when you live in certain places, that kind of works for a little bit until a lot of people move there, but it doesn't scale. I mean,
and that's exactly what we're dealing with around California and a lot of the West, because our groundwater is being interrupted now because of people have just drilled wells all over the place and are just like agricultural commercial farming on groundwater.
Right. Everybody has the same water rights because they stuck their little pipe down into the aquifer, but it's the same fucking aquifer as everybody else is drawing from. So it doesn't work. It's just so stupid. So obviously doesn't work, but they just keep doing it. Yeah, it's but well.
We're gonna solve some of the problems though. So
we'll make some.
We'll get a water guild eventually.
It's the same as like what capitalism does. Capitalism has like this meta problem solving. Like they have a methodology where like they know like fuck capital. It's not even capital. It's venture capital. Like the current system is using venture capital to scale is like the basis of everything.
Where you're not actually using money, you're using like buying power, consumer buying power.
Yeah.
Like, then we have to get into a whole conversation about the gold standard and all that kind of thing. But we all know that's bullshit.
Yeah. So I think once we figure out how to get things to replicate that people value, it almost to me doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. And I don't know what thing is going to take off. Like it could be the gardening stuff. It could just be music. It could be hell, I don't know. Like history would indicate it's going to be something porn related probably. But like personal, like one thing I've thought about is trying to get Wi-Fi hotspots in cruising places where people cruise, and
that's cool.
And then put up personals ads in cruising spots that are like you show up in the cruising spot, and then there's like a personals ad that anybody who goes there can post, and it's like, you know, you have to have.
Like, pretty soon we're gonna be hacking Google glasses, and then you're just gonna be like walking to these spots, and they're just gonna pop up, and we can create our own like democratized tech craziness.
Yeah,
it feels dystopic because then you have ads popping up, but it's like democratized and power to the people ads.
Yeah, I mean, if there's enough servers, part of what I hope is that if servers are cheap enough, free, if servers are free, if we're getting servers out of the trash, then there's not this sense of like, there's no like tragedy of the commons. Like, is everything going to be like this or is it going to be like that? Well, we don't agree, so we have to fight about it. Whoever has more power. You just keep adding servers and doing different stuff. So if the server has too much of one kind of content, just throw more servers up and have different kinds of content for different kinds of. You just keep adding diversity to the network. That's what I'm hoping. And I don't know what's going to take off. And I sort of almost, I won't say I don't care, but I'm trying to be very agnostic about it, because if you can get the thing to copy, all of the other things can ride along with that. Like if the music starts to blow up, we can use that to move the robots around. And if the robots start to blow up, then you can turn to musicians and say, look, we've got traction, so you should take this seriously because we've got all this robots. Like it doesn't matter which thing takes, as long as it starts to copy. Because once it does copy, then it does something capitalists can't do, which is scale without capital. And that's just, oh man, we got to keep our eye on the prize on that, because if you can scale any technology without capital, any technology, then you've unraveled this basic thing about capitalism, which is the part that you need capital. And that's like really fundamental. And that's much worse now for capitalism than it was 40 years ago. I think people used to scale companies more through revenue, and now they just use venture capital money to scale at a loss.
What is Marion? What's the name of that boy that derailed the train?
Delgado.
Marion Delgado. So we're listening to this. Yeah.
It's a great podcast. It's called Mother Country Radicals on Stitcher.
Okay.
It's awesome. The guy who created it, his mother is Bernadine Dorn, who was a phenomenal revolutionary leftist leader in the late 60s, early 70s. Like, she planted a lot of bombs and went to prison for at least a decade.
Was on the FBI's Most Wanted.
But like, I love the woman. She's my new model.
See, so anyway, the point that you were making about keeping our eyes on the prize on that thing, they pointed out in the podcast that there was a little boy that put a cement block on the train tracks. This was like in the big news and
in the 60s.
In the 60s, and it derailed the whole fucking train.
He just put a rock on the train tracks and derailed the whole train. A 6-year-old,
like
on camera.
On camera, and he's like giddy about it, and he's laughing. And the guys were like, "Listen, we don't need big time, like a whole fucking army to take down the system. We just need one well-placed rock to derail it all." So that, I love that.
Yeah. And my belief too is that you also, the system destroys itself constantly. And so if you build a better system, like the thing that really kills a railroad is like, look at the canals. Like, so I used to live in New England, and we had all these canals. They built canals like crazy in the early 1800s, like the 1830s. They were building canals all over the place, right before the railroads came in. And the railroads wiped the canals right off the map, like just like that. Like, you want to kill a canal, you put in a railroad right next to it, and the canal's done. Financially, the canal's done. And that's the thing. I mean, that's, if you want to wipe Amazon off the map, you have distribution centers that are distributing better goods for free, and Amazon's done. Like, that's it. It's like Blockbuster Video went out because people had other ways to consume entertainment. Like, that's the thing. Is like,
I have a dream for a community barter center. Yeah. Kind of a Goodwill style place, almost like that, plus like a storage place where people bring all their surplus goods and you access them. Yeah, a free store. Absolutely. You access them.
You follow Hey Zoo on TikTok? Hey Zoo. I think it's like Hey_Zoo, maybe HEYZOO. She's in Appalachia somewhere. I think in like West Virginia or something. She's amazing. She's got a free store that's been really successful, and she's in a rural Appalachian conservative community, and is
HAYZ what?
ZOO. Hey Zoo. Does that pop up? HEY_ZOO maybe.
Oh, there she is. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll follow that because I have an aspiration for that.
Yeah, you should go through some of her older TikToks. She's got some stuff where she goes into the mechanics a little bit. I think they actually did start a nonprofit, and they have a space, and they distribute a lot of stuff, and it's everything. They do what you're talking. It's not just food. They do like all kinds of random whatever. Because because you have to have space. Once you have space, people just bring stuff in like crazy. Everybody's trying to get rid of stuff.
Yep.
You can couple that with the lending library as well.
100%.
Tool library.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
we have a tool library in Denver that I need to go talk to those people. There's a tool library that's not too far from where we live, so I'm gonna check that out.
Okay, so many
they're
ideas.
separate from the public library. I think they're nonprofit, but not part of the public library.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
All right. We've been on for a while. Well, we have a plan. This is all very exciting. It's moving ahead. Yeah. Draft some stuff up there. Let's and I'll let you know after I get a hold of Masa and try to make a plan, and then we'll just keep talking. And it'll take some time, but it's all going to take time, but that's good. I think the wheels are in motion.
All right. Will pass regardless of whether we do anything with it or not, right?
Right.
The what?
The time will pass regardless
yeah,
of whether we do something with it or not. So we might as well do something with it.
Yeah. I think we're doing stuff. Things are happening.
Okay.
All right.
Night.
All right. Good night. Take it easy.